Well, good morning, Brooke. It's always so good to see you. We don't spend enough time together. And Suha, I feel like we've been like ships passing over the past couple of months. So it's awesome to get to spend a little bit of time with both of you, especially. And I think, at least part of our favorite topics, which is talking about the book, Rethink Everything You Know About Financial Literacy for Teens. Suha, you always say that we save the best for last because you were the last chapter in the book, and I totally agree with that. And I would just love for you to share with us, one, why you wanted to participate in this particular book and project with Brooke and I, and then two, we'll get a little bit deeper, into exactly why you picked your topic for your chapter.
It's always wonderful to see both of you, obviously. I was just chatting with Brooke a couple of seconds ago saying I haven't seen her, and we've both been traveling. All of us have been traveling, actually. So it's really wonderful to just catch up like this. And, y- you know, when I heard about the book, it's just like I was young, I was stupid. And if I can help somebody avoid the stupid mistakes that I made, then I think that would be wonderful. And it kind of is a little bit of mentorship in that, when you're telling somebody, hey, listen, I've done this and the ramifications were really bad, and don't fall into the same traps that I fell into when I was young. Um, that's really why I wanted to be a part of this book, because I felt young people don't get a lot of education when it comes to handling their money. Uh,
Yeah.
and so if we can give them some hindsight, if we could share our hindsight with them, help them avoid those traps, you know, then we've done good.
I love it. This was a passion project for both Brooke and I. She had previously written another book that was for a much younger group. And this has been on my heart for a really long time. And specifically to do it with a group of women, right? Every writer or contributor to this book is a woman. And that was really important to Brooke and I as part of this project. You've certainly exceeded, all expectations of the participation in this book. Your chapter is so fun and so informative. Like Brooke, let's drill down a little bit with Suha and her chapter.
Yeah, absolutely. So Suha's chapter is the last one in the book. It's chapter 24. The title is Don't Get Played, Spotting Financial Traps Before It's Too Late. And Suha, you really hit on it a second ago when you were speaking about how you had made mistakes when you were younger. And I think that my favorite thing about this book is that it was written from the perspective of not like we know everything and this is how you're going to get rich or anything like that. It was we were all young once and we all made mistakes. And this is what we wish we had known when we were in high school or in college or, in our early 20s. So it very much comes from a place of don't do what we did. And do you want to talk about specifically maybe some of the traps that you wrote about in your chapter?
Absolutely. So, just like going back, I was a teenager, a very young teenager when I started college. I started college at 16. My parents weren't around. My brother, who's 3 years older than me, was. And at 16, I remember walking into DH Library on campus, and all these credit card companies had their tables there. And all you had to do was sign, and you got a credit card. And it's like free money for a 16-year-old. It's like I could go buy the cute purse and the cute skirt and the shoes and go get my hair done. And, you know, I never understood that, hey, at some point that bill's going to be due and you're going to have to pay it. Um, and so that for me as a teenager, as somebody who had never had that education about money, about credit cards, that's one of the traps that I talk about, because it is so easy to just, you're on campus, you sign the application, you get the credit card 2 weeks later, and you're off and running to the malls,
Yeah,
honestly.
for sure. The trap that you start with in your chapter is the I need it now. And we live in such a society about like, instant gratification, right?
Yep.
That there's really no delay in our brain for not only thinking about that we want it, but actually practicing a discipline for not acting on it. So I love that that was your very first trap. So you got the credit card, you didn't think you were having to pay it back. What was the I need it now thing that, you fell into?
Honestly, I just wanted to look cool and be cool on campus. Again, I was young. I saw all these other girls who were always dressed nicely, and so I wanted to treat myself, if you will. And so and you talk about instant gratification. It is so easy for us to go on Amazon, add something to our basket, hit the buy immediately, and it arrives the day later. I mean,
Mhm.
that has become our society. That's our ecosystem. And so, not even having to go somewhere to buy it because the drive there may give you pause to say, oh, do I really need this? You don't even have to do that anymore. Just go on Amazon, on whatever, any department store, just add it to your cart, buy, done, appears the next day. And so that instant gratification, and that can translate to other things that I talk about. Everybody's going to the concert. So I want to get tickets to the concert because that's, I want to be there. I want to be cool. I want to do the same things as everybody else is doing. I want the latest game. I want the latest toy. I want the latest car. I mean, it compounds over and over. And when we don't stop and think about the reason, it really becomes a trap. And, the traps, I talk about 5 different traps in my chapter. They're all kind of interrelated to a certain extent, because we want the money, we want to spend it now, and we never think about saving for the future. And so and that really is kind of like the arc that I go through the chapter from. We want the money. How do we spend it? How do we fall into the traps? I mean, no joke. My husband and I were just talking about this about 3 weeks ago. It's like, wait, are we still paying for Netflix and Apple TV? I mean, you sign up for these things. And, it's like you get 7 days free or 3 days free. Don't forget to cancel. And then you forget to cancel. And all of a sudden, you're looking at your credit card bill going, wait, I'm spending $200 a month on streaming services that I'm not using. So
Mhm.
all of these things compound to create that kind of perfect storm if you're not careful.
Yeah, I love that. I loved one of the lines that you put in the book that was really impactful for me was treat a credit card like a debit card, right? So if it was literally coming out of your cash pocket right then and there, would you be able to make the same decision about buying
Mhm.
that?
Yep.
And I think, listen, adults lose sight of that philosophy,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
Let alone a teen that's never been really, kind of taught about, this is the X dollars that you have and how can you spend it or where should you spend it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think it's unfortunate in our society, in our, in today's world. And I'm not throwing bricks at anybody's house, but I see a lot of parents who just give their kids credit cards and say, do whatever you need to do. And
Mhm.
there's never, at least it doesn't appear to me, that there is follow through or teaching moments or,
Yeah.
handing down how you handle that credit card. What do you do with it? It's because it's almost like the parents are separating themselves from the kids. And by giving them their credit card, it's like, well, I'm a good parent. I'm letting you buy what you need, what you want, when you want it. And so I don't have to parent you, which is kind of a really sad situation to be in.
Yeah,
yeah.
and
You're a parent, so let's talk about that.
yeah, I was gonna say my son's not, quite at that age yet. He's only 4. And but I've heard horror stories from lots of other parents about things like in-app purchases or gaming purchases. Their kids are playing a video game and really want the newest skin or weapon or whatever it is. And it's so easy for them to purchase it in the game and it's an actual real purchase. that goes on their parents' credit card and they don't realize it. And the next thing the parent knows, they've spent, $400 or $500 on video game accessories. So just there's so many examples like that trap that you mentioned. I think it was the third one in your chapter. So many different things like that that are just easy ways for people to spend money without even realizing they're doing it, whether they're kids or adults.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. It's whether it's the subscription, whether it's the in-app purchases, whether it's the instant gratification,
Mhm.
the FOMO. You want to get the latest thing that everybody has. All of these just compound, and they kind of build on one another. And then they kind of actually lead you to the last trap of not saving because, well, you don't have any money to save because you've spent
Right.
it on all this stuff.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
for sure. So I mean, you outlined the traps beautifully, but if we were saying, okay, um, you've given really great examples from your own personal experience of how this impacted you, right? But we all know that experience is probably the best teacher, right? Not
Right.
just. And so, my expectation is that probably, some of the people, at least some of the people that are going to be reading this book are going to be like, oh, well, that's never going to happen to me. I'm never going to do it, that way, right? Like we all get into that. But we know that that's a false statement, right?
Hmm.
Because at some point, whether you're a teenager, a young adult, or even, a grown adult, these traps are really relevant. And sometimes even more so as you advance in your career, you're like, oh, well, I just hit this title, so I deserve this, or I just got this raise, so I should treat myself with this, right? And oftentimes we don't do that from a viewpoint of, okay, well, let me lay out the cash to make that happen. Let me just put it on my credit card because it's okay. I can afford the payment now, which is as big a trap as any, right? So,
Absolutely.
right. And one of the traps that you actually didn't put in here was the, oh, well, I can afford the payment trap, right?
The
Um,
minimum payment.
Minimum payment.
right.
Yep.
There we go. There we go.
That's the
Yeah.
kicker because, and I love how credit card statements now show you, like, if you pay the minimum payment, it's going to take you 30 years to pay it off, and you're going to end up paying, for a $500 thing, you're going to end up paying like 20,000 if you take
Mhm.
25 years to buy it, to
Yeah,
pay it
and that's
back.
if you don't put anything else on that credit card. If you stop spending right
Exactly.
now and you make the
Now.
minimum
Yeah,
payment, you're gonna be paying for this in 30 years when your grandkids are
Yeah.
being
exactly.
born.
Yeah. Your
Exactly.
chapter is almost polar opposite from the one of the ones that Brooke wrote, which was one of my favorites about compounding interest,
Mhm.
right? Because you can see how quickly it can add up, but you can also see it on the
Reverse.
reverse as part of your chapter, right? How quickly that interest compounds in a
Negative
negative
way.
way versus in a
Positive.
positive way.
Yep.
So yeah, it's I love everything about your chapter, and how to get there, how to avoid it, and really just appreciate you kind of sharing your own personal journey. Because listen, we all go through that, right? We get to college and we're like, it's the first time we've potentially been away from our parents, and we feel like we're not under some of that
Mhm.
scrutiny. I get to make my own decision about something, but if we really haven't had any of this financial literacy before, whether it came from a class in school, whether it came from this really great, book and advice, or the teachings of our parents, we are ill prepared to be able to make, decisions that are positive ones versus ones that can affect us for a really long time. And so I know that, yeah, go
No, I
ahead.
was I was gonna say absolutely, and this, if you want to extrapolate it even further, if you fall into those traps now, how are you going to be able to afford a home later? I mean, we're all in the mortgage industry, and that's our customers is we're trying to educate them to get them there, to get them to get to actually buy their home and achieve the American dream. So that education, I know we do a lot of counseling for first-time home buyers and stuff later, but we need to start that education when they're young so that they build the right habits that get them
That's right.
to be able to afford their home when they're ready.
Yeah, absolutely. If that doesn't start early, it's really difficult to have that understanding. Brooke, what else do we need to like dive in with Suha on her chapter, her thoughts, behind it?
Well, just in general, I think you just made a really good point, Sue, has we need to start earlier. And there are now a number of states who have passed legislation that requires financial literacy as part of graduation requirements for high school, which is fantastic. It's a step in the right direction. It's not every state yet. The problem is a lot of these states haven't actually put forth what that means. So there's not
Hmm.
necessarily any curriculum. It's just up to to each school and each school district to kind of figure out how they're going to teach financial literacy for this graduation requirement. So this is, this is a step in the right direction. If there are any schools out there that need something for teens, it's written specifically for that group. So just wanted to throw that out there. Um, Suha, do you
Tell
have
you what
any?
I've yeah, I was gonna say, I'll tell you what I've done. I mean, for all
Mhm.
my I come from a large family, and we have our next generation and even the generation after that, and I've gotten them this book for every single one and said, "You need to sit down and read this with your kids. They need to understand." Because I see it in my family, "Well, so and so has this, why can't I have that?" I've seen, like we've got teenagers who are driving now and their parents go out and get them BMWs. And it's like, what are you teaching your kid? That you need to stop because you want to make sure that you're instilling the right habits early on. And so that's what in Florida where I live, we don't have that as a curriculum requirement, unfortunately. But I want to make sure that I am, as you said, Dana, preparing the people that I care about, because that's who I can that one person can make a little difference. I want to make sure that I'm making a difference in those people that I love, to make sure that I'm preparing them well.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that so much. I've been giving this book away to friends of mine that their kids are graduating from middle school or high school. As a part of it, I was really fortunate. We have a local private school here that picked this up as part of their economics curriculum. So I got some really great feedback of the
Nice.
students that graduated
Awesome.
this year about this as a resource tool and things that just opened their eyes. And I kind of started the conversation about, Brooke and I having this as a passion project. For me, where it started was, I was raising two girls, and at dinner conversations, we would talk about money, right? As a matter of fact, when my cell phone would ring, we'd call it the money phone. It's the money phone. It's because that's how I made my living in mortgage, right? And they would have friends come over, spending the night or, having dinner with us. And we'd have these conversations and they'd have these blank stares on their face. And I'm like, do you not like talk about this kind of stuff at home? And they're like, no,
Never.
no, my parents don't. We don't talk about money. It's just this thing that somehow is magically there for us. And I'm like, okay, well, it is not magic. It is really, really hard work that it takes to be able to earn this, to be able to make you think that it's magic, but that's a falsehood. And that's really where it came from me was like I just had too many conversations with some really great kids that just they had no idea how it was managed, how they should be managing it, or how it should be used as a tool. Right? Money is a tool. And a tool can be used, as we all know, for good or
Or for
for not so
bad.
good.
Yeah.
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 Yeah,
Absolutely.
for sure.
Absolutely. No, I mean, this is such a great conversation. And I think, you know, there are certain things that we need to keep bringing up and keep talking about. And this happens to be one of them, especially because it impacts so much in the future. So, I mean, I think, I'm very grateful that I was able to join the collaborators and contribute, the one chapter, because I think it is an important conversation. Absolutely.
It is. We were so happy that you agreed to join us and are one of our 14
You mean
amazing
because I forced
women
my way in
writers.
and said, I want to be a writer?
We were very, very happy to have you, and your chapter is wonderful.
Thank you. I so appreciate you too.
I couldn't echo that sentiment anymore. You closed out the book perfectly. And just the value that you brought to the overall, experience of the book and the way that we're delivering it into the market. And the fact that you feel so passionately about sharing it with people that you love.
Mhm.
And that it can be a changer. I've talked to a couple of parents that have done this, side by side with their students, and they're like, man, I wish I had known
Mhm.
that, right? Maybe I wouldn't have made that mistake that I'm now having to also, share, with my child. So I think it happens to the best of us. And so anything that we can do and anything that this book can do to maybe change just, to your point, right? Maybe it only changes one person. That's okay, right? In my
It's one
eyes,
person.
if it changes one person from, making a potential very damaging, mistake, right? We've got women that have contributed this book that shared really personal horror stories. And if we can avoid that, then that's a major win.
It's a
Well, Brooke,
win.
close us out with Suha and our book and where we go from here.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Suha, for joining us and talking about your amazing chapter. We're so happy that you are a part of this journey. So once again, the book is called, let me see if I can get it on screen, Rethink Everything You Know About Financial Literacy for Teens. It's great for the age group of high schoolers, even college. And I've actually had multiple, I'm sure you guys have had this too, multiple adults tell me that they learned something from it and that they think
Mhm.
adults should read it too. So it's kind of for everybody. But we are so happy to have you join us and look out for what's next from this group.
Sounds great. Thank you both so much.
Thanks, Suha. Great to see you.
Great to see you both. Bye.
Brooke, thanks.
Thank you.